Hey, welcome back to the Blue Collar Off-Road Podcast, episode 78. We got two guys here from Built East, which if you're in New England and Massachusetts or Connecticut, you probably know these know these guys pretty well. Um, Adam Leydic and Josh Greenleaf, both who are pretty big names in the New England off-roading scene, I think personally. Um, Adam, I know you've had a few rigs. Josh, your rig is pretty iconic as far as Cherokees go. Uh, so yeah. Oh, and yeah, we've got Luke's gonna be late. Cody's here now. Richie's here. Obviously, I just did the intro. Um, so yeah, I guess we'll
Man, you nailed this one, actually. I'm kind of impressed with you.
really. I thought I did horrible, but I
No,
guess
but you
it's
hit all the points.
no. I made it
You,
a point this time to introduce the guest first, because otherwise we go like 5 minutes and they still don't have any idea who the fuck we're talking to. So we did that first.
perfect.
Got that out of the way.
Perfect. Gotta lead up to it. Well, you nailed my name once, so you don't have to do that again.
It'd just be Adam. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, I guess where do you want to even start? Probably I don't know. What made you start Built East? What sort of got that all rolling way back when?
Hating my job.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
why the
Pretty good.
off-roading side of it?
Um, I worked at a dealership and working on stuff was cool, and I was doing side work, and then my side work got out of control, and then I was renting a space to do my side work, and then yeah, just got sick of my day job and uh the not good environment a dealership is, and wanted to actually do things for people when they pay me instead of just rob them. So yeah, just went full time here.
It's a very good answer.
Yeah, it evolved a little since just side work and
Well,
hating my job.
Before we just go straight into the business side of it, give us a little bit about your past with off-roading and like what made you get the love for the sport. And both Josh and you can answer that.
I think like every other Cherokee owner, you get into off-roading because you're partying in the woods, and I don't know, I'm not smart and I like driving over things and through the woods. And then I found other not smart friends that like
That's
driving
the theme,
their
right? It's the not smart
station
friends.
wagons over rocks and yeah, I mean, I went through when everyone else kind of went over to trailer rigs, they evolved from, license plate vehicles to trailer rigs. I kind of slowly followed that a little bit and then quickly realized that even though all my friends are doing it, that wasn't for me. And it's still kind of funny because all my friends still do drive those. And I show up with my family outing mobile, but that got me to where I'm at.
Speaking of
So
that rig, it was a Cherokee that you back halved and then, or kept it kind of full Cherokee, but chopped the roof off of it, or partial of the roof, is it?
yeah, yeah, all those things, yeah. All those things.
Did you know that our friend currently owns that vehicle?
I've heard that, and I don't think so. I'm
Really?
pretty sure I watched it get crushed. But I could be wrong. I've seen that picture a few times, and it's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell. So unless you bought it from a scrapyard, that's
Cody,
where I
it
get.
might have been just one that they built. I don't know. So the rig he's talking about, it was Monkey. I don't
That's
know.
not the same one.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no
Really?
idea.
So this whole time I've spent in the past 2 years, or a year and a half of him owning this, I thought it was that rig. So I was completely wrong.
Apparently.
Yeah,
No
people keep sending
shit.
me pictures of that thing. It's very similar in like a lot of ways.
Definitely not.
But you can tell the way I cut my Jeep, I literally cut it in half. So the back half of my roof was sheet metal, and you can clearly tell he has a regular Cherokee roof all the way to the back.
No fucking way.
I
Wow,
don't
I
think-
am.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen a picture of your rig, Adam, but
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't, that picture, or that, now that you say that, I don't see it at all. I think there's one picture
Yeah.
I've seen of it on the highway, the whole back
But-
half.
Yeah, mine, it still had half the back door. It was
Yep.
silly. It's literally a 1.5 door. It's so stupid. Yeah.
You were driving
Yeah.
this down the highway?
Listen, it was very presentable. All the lights worked. I kept it clean. I didn't drive around with mud all over it and a monster sticker and a neon green diff cover. I kept it presentable.
Well, that's just
Always on the
instant pullover from any monster stickers, right?
Yeah. Snap-on sticker, monster stickers, man heels, the whole thing. But anyways, I drove that on the street. It drove pretty well, actually. I drove it to New Jersey one time, kind of on accident. I was meeting some BMX friends somewhere, and then they decided to go another hour and a half south. That somewhere went from Connecticut to New Jersey. And I woke up the next morning in New Jersey in my back half Cherokee on Hummer wheels. But then I put TSLs on it, and then that was over. Those weren't driving down the street. They work good though.
They worked good on the road, or you mean off-road?
No. They work good off-road. They were not good on the road.
I have yet to actually see a pair of TSLs work decent.
Well, I had them on the Hummer wheels, so you could take all the air out and just drive through the woods with flat tires. Basically a tank,
That's a good answer. Wow.
I think any tire would do good in that situation.
Not a Patagonia. I don't think a Patagonia would.
That would not go over well, I don't think.
They just fall apart.
The IROC might not do so well either.
Well, that's because they wouldn't air down.
Yeah.
I still don't
True.
get why so many. Like, I get they work well out west, but aren't they just a shit tire in general, Patagonias?
But yeah, like tire construction wise, it sucks. I mean, the tread's not bad, I guess, depending.
There's a lot of downfalls. I mean,
Yeah, depending on
they're
which.
really fantastic when they're brand new, but then once you put like 10,000 miles on them, everything changes,
Yeah.
and they are not strong whatsoever.
Well, because like,
True.
Luke had a set of brand new 40-inch pads, and they sucked right out of the box.
Yeah, I had a set of the black labels, and I don't know. I tried to make them work. I cut one of them from the tread right to the bead, like the whole entire sidewall was torn.
Jeez.
And I took one out in a race. They are just terrible. Like they get a little bit of mud in them, the things wouldn't go anywhere.
But on the other
Yeah.
hand, he's got a set of I don't know which ones are on your truck, on your
What?
pickup truck.
The Milestar XTs or something. I don't know. They're super cheap, and they've been on my truck forever.
And they look
Pretty-
beautiful. They're wearing so well.
Yeah, they're like a knockoff Ridge Grappler.
Wow. Yeah, I picked
So-
up a. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you can't kill brands just for one tire, I guess.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that goes the opposite direction too. I run the Generals, the X3s on my Jeep. Love them, absolutely love them. But I got their ATs for my truck, and they're the fucking worst tires. I will never buy them again. Usually, I don't shit talk General just for the fact of I don't know, the little stigma that I'm some like General freak, which is true. But anyways, they are loud as fuck for no reason. They suck on the road and in the snow. Unless there's like 6 inches, don't even fucking bother. They're just sliding everywhere. It's horrible. Don't ever buy them.
I think they need to redesign that tire. I think at first it was like a attempt at a redesign of the BFG to kind of improve it, but give you a cheaper option. And it was. It's cheaper. It's softer. It's quieter, but it's still like the same design from 1982.
The same failing design, might as well.
Yeah. Compared to all the hybrid tires like the Ridge Grappler and whatnot, they gotta redesign that one.
Yeah.
Do you want me to ask my question that I had ready to go?
Oh, sure.
you?
Yeah, go for it.
So at the shop, I know that you guys were pushing out Falcon, pardon me, pretty hard. Are you guys still doing that? And why do you feel that they're the, like, not necessarily superior tire, but why do you feel that they're the best in the business right now?
I wouldn't say, well, I mean, I guess it depends what you're asking or what you think the best in the business means, but I've heard you say
best in the business before, so that's why I specifically.
Yeah. I just started following them as more of a brand because they were supporting, in the Northeast here, I have a lot of drifting friends, so you always saw Falcon around with that. And then Ultimate Adventure started going around and they sponsored Ultimate Adventure, and that's how I figured out what I was like, wow, I didn't realize they made anything but drift car tires. You know what I mean? I was so close-minded to that. But they also, come to find out, don't do mass marketing, so why would I know that? Um, so I started seeing them on that, and then when I uh, actually back when we did Truck Fest, I don't know if you guys know what that is,
No.
but it was a truck event that we did, and I, because of Ultimate Adventure, I tried to get them to sponsor it, but then whatever, they didn't at the time. But then I had them on a radar, and then I don't know, I put a bunch of their tires on my own stuff, and then a few customers, and I don't know, I was realizing that it was, especially working at the dealership, you mount and balance and drive a lot of different brands, so you know what a good tire is, and the quality of it was totally comparable to like Nitto and Toyo, but the price at the time, it's higher now, but at the time it was like 2/3 of the price of either of those brands, but the same quality. So, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of became a dealer for them. I sell other tire. I'll sell anything besides a BFG Alter. Or like Chinese Walmart tires, like tires that are going to cause us a headache in 10,000 miles. Which is, like I said, any of those Chinese tires or a BFG all-terrain. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good tire. It's the right tire for a lot of people. It's not the right tire for some people. When it comes to the mud terrain, which is probably more of what you guys are concerned with, I don't even remember what it's called. I think it's called like the Duraspec sidewall. The plies go up the sidewall like 35% higher than any other tire in that class of tire. So Nitto, Toyo, all of them. So basically like 3/4 of the way up the sidewall, there's 3 more plies than any of those other tires. So the sidewall is like crazy on these things. The tread's not that unique. Like it doesn't look that cool. And it's not that much different than like some other brands.
Yeah, it just looks like a
You look-
Nitto. Honestly,
Yeah,
like,
it
that's
kind
what
of.
It's more Yokohama, to be
Really?
honest with you. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really quiet on the road. Has fantastic road manners, and it's got that awesome sidewall. So maybe not for super hardcore stuff, but like we would love to have a set for racing. I mean, the sidewall is more important than anything, really.
Yep.
When it comes to Josh whipping his station wagon through the woods sideways.
Do they
But,
have
but- There's a lot of shortages going on right now, so we got Maxxis Treps on there.
Yeah, those are
For
actually
now.
mine.
Oh yeah.
Got them all fixed.
Yep, yeah, those are the budget tires.
are
for now.
those holding up?
Yeah, they're all mounted. I got the 2 that were wrecked fixed. They took that one tire that was like brand new that had a bunch of holes. That took 5 patches,
Jesus Christ.
and
Man.
the other one that had like 2 holes or whatever, it took 2 patches. So luckily, I have a good friend that took care of them, and he wanted to help out. So that was
yeah.
his gift to the racing team this year.
That's
Which
sweet.
was a pretty big gift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure it was.
Now
But
does Falcon do like their small end program for racing teams, kind of like how Maxxis does? Like we spoke to like a father and daughter group called Crazy K's out, and they're out west. They're the ones that had the white Cherokee that rolled off the top of the hill and then flattened. I don't know if you. I'm sure you guys probably. saw
oh
it.
yeah. You're talking about a KOH?
No, this was before KOH. This was
Ugh.
probably like 6 months before. It was like it went crazy over the internet, and like the whole back half completely squished, but she was perfectly fine. It like lifted the passenger tire and then just teeter-tottered its way down the hill. It was pretty exciting. But when we were speaking with them, she spoke about how Maxxis offers a grassroots opportunity for racing teams to run their stickies at a pretty affordable price. I didn't know if Falcon did something similar.
Yeah, they do normally, but and you would be, obviously, if you look at my shop, my Jeep, my social media, yeah, I push Falcon like crazy. And it's not because of money or anything like that. It is because of their support for motorsports. I mean, that's where they spend everything on. You don't see their name, on cable TV or at the Super Bowl. They just give it right back out into the motorsports world because
Shit, that's a good point. I
that's
never
their
realized
clientele.
that.
Yeah, I could talk about it all day. I know everything about it, but yeah, they do. The problem is this year there's such crazy shortages that and I spoke with them a lot about it. And as much as they want to bring us on, they literally don't even have tires to give us, like physically. They don't even have.
Shit.
They don't have any
tires to give teams that are already on.
Yeah, we know pro drivers and everything and they're like, yeah, no, we don't have any tires. Like if you look at KOH, a lot of the Nitto and Falcon teams had like random brand spare tires on because they put their best 4 on and then they didn't even have enough to have spares. Nitto's same thing. They're like 9 months out. Like today I priced out some 37s for someone. They told me 9 months.
Wait, that's actually terrifying. Holy shit, I did not realize the shortage was that bad. I knew that tires had gone up incredibly, but goddamn, that's bad.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we got these trips. We literally couldn't even, if we wanted to buy brand new 37s, we couldn't get our hands on any. They're all gone. So, yeah. So anyways, I would say, if you logistically, we're absolutely going to be on Falcon's team when it's possible for them. But even now, I got a set of 37s for my Jeep a few months ago, and it took 5 months to get them from when my tire dealership ordered them up for me until they got them. And they only had 4, and I still have 4. I have a 35-inch spare.
Holy shit! So now I did notice you said we. Do you want to kind of roll into what you mean by we?
With what?
With the racing team, you mentioned now a few times that it's a we instead of because I know that Josh has been doing it for a while, but now you're saying we. Is that including that now you are committed to his racing career on that, or are you also doing something with it like you're on your own?
No. I mean, big part of him coming here was to make racing more part of his everyday life and not just after dinner till midnight. I don't know, the Jeep's out there right now in the shop.
John.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's John. But so the short answer to that is no. I'm just trying to support Josh in his racing as much as you can and hoping he does it in the name of the shop a little bit and with the hope of all of us progressing forward with our careers because they're spiraling in different directions in a good way. So, I want racing to be part of it for sure for a long time.
Is that in hopes of stopping doing the vans?
Hell no.
No, it sounds like he likes the
God,
Vans.
I got nervous.
No, stop that. Of course, if me and Josh could just go racing for a living, yeah, sure. Screw
race
working on
Vans.
anything. I don't need to do nothing. No, that's not how racing works.
So how did that happen? Because I do know that you started out more as like your general vehicle maintenance to then more off-roading, but then also a lot of Cherokees, and now it's vans. How the fuck did that happen?
So originally, I mean, I had a bunch of just normal customers. Like I said, it was side work that got out of control. And then when I dedicated to going full time, I was like, I'm definitely not going to be normal mechanicking for the rest of my life. I want to work on, what I like. So, I called it an off-road shop. And at first, there wasn't a lot of off-road stuff coming through. It was just my side work. And just over time, I can't tell you I did it with intention, but I've just had to stop doing normal work. And now we're just an off-road shop, which is cool. But anyways, back in the day, I think the internet influences me a lot. Before I even started the business, I watched Dirt Every Day a lot with Fred Williams and Dave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I watched it from the beginning when it was just a YouTube show before he even sold it to Motor Trend. But
Wow.
you know, Rob, do you guys watch Dirt every day?
Yeah.
Graham
So-
watches
I do.
it pretty often. I don't. I catch it here and there. I don't pay for the subscription, so I just watch it whenever they put it out on YouTube.
Do you know Rob? He worked for Synergy Manufacturing, and then he built that right-hand drive mail JK. He painted it like a mail truck, and it was right-hand drive. Well, anyways, in episode like 16 of Dirt Every Day, Fred goes to Rob's new shop. He quit Synergy Manufacturing as an engineer and started a company four-wheel drive swapping Sprinter vans. And they made an episode about it. I was like, wow, that's really cool. So whatever, that made a mark in my mind. And then when I started the shop, it's kind of funny. My vision back then was to start an off-road shop and try to get contracts with like Asplin Tree Service and get like their service trucks like in here for like the off-road aspect of them to get serviced or built or worked on. That was my theory. So then when I was like, oh, you know what? That Rob guy makes four-wheel drive swaps for Sprinter vans. I'm going to be a dealer for that. Plumbers are going to need four-wheel drive Sprinter vans. That was literally my mindset. It had nothing to do with overlanding, had nothing to do with Jeeps. I thought it was going to attract more commercial off-road accounts. Oh, God, was I wrong.
That is not the case.
That is not the case.
So now that would have been an insane contract to get though with like Asplin to make because obviously like their trucks go out there during the worst of the worst. So if you can get them more off-road capable, shit, that'd be pretty good money to them to spend.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like around here, we have power lines that go through this area. So you see PAR trucks, PAR, and every single one of those trucks are dudes from out of state, and they just have tons of money, and they just got all the Texas bells and whistles. They got a big bumper hanging off the front with a winch, the wheels, the tires, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna get 30 of those guys that got that company credit card. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, that would be a good. Like, I thought I was gonna like service winches a lot. Like, there's no one around here that services winches. Like, you know, like a skid steer that clears power lines, like has a huge hydraulic winch hanging off the back. Every tow truck that passes you has a winch on it, and there's no one around here that rebuilds winches or services them. You just break them and replace them. So I thought that would be like something I would come up with. That never happened. I don't think I've ever rebuilt a winch. Maybe one of my own.
Yeah.
I've tried fixing Josh's old one, and I don't know, was that scrap metal now?
You know, I had one that's in the back of my truck. I'm like, maybe I'll go send it to him. Then I heard that.
Nah. Well, it's silly. It's like
You just give it to Dave.
But
Dave
yeah,
knows the electrical stuff.
by the time you like time and money and materials is so crazy. By the time you would pay me to take your 8,000-pound super winch apart, see what's wrong with it, service it, order the parts, install them, it's probably going to cost you like hundreds of dollars more than the winch does to replace it. So,
Yeah, I mean, at that point, right, you're putting a new motor on it or something on the gear side's all messed up. At least in the ones that
Yeah.
I pulled apart, right? And there's not any, you can't fix, I mean, you can fix that motor, but you're almost better off getting a new one for reliability reasons. So, I mean, at that point, that's half the winch. I don't know.
I just bought a new super winch and I bought it. My other one was fine, but I just wanted, it's the same one that I've been putting on Sprinter vans. So I wanted it as like a showpiece. So I can just say, oh, look, it's on my Jeep. Now I've had it since the first of the year and I haven't used it yet. So I can't tell you if it works good, but it was only like $800 and it was a 10,000-pound, like cool, like molded aluminum. It's pretty, it's fun to look at.
Yeah.
But again, for $800, like by the time you pay me to remove it, take it apart, order parts, like, come on, what's it gonna be, $600? Buy a new winch.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of my failed ideas. I got a lot of those.
Why does the super winch look so much like the Harbor Freight fancy dancy winch? Like
Probably the same one.
It almost looks like the same one. Like that kind of freaked me out for a second when I did the search really quick. I thought it was pulling up the picture of the of
It's
the
honestly,
Rig one.
it's honestly probably most of the same parts, just like Warren's Evo line now. You
Yeah.
look at the pricing, it's like, come on, man. There's no way. Sorry. That's all. That's all the same. You crack all those things open, I bet you they have this interchangeable parts.
Yep.
I mean, I guess it's roughly right around the same price. It's right around the $900 price tag.
Yep.
And
they're
you're right. It is kind of looks almost exactly the same. Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm sure they're all the same parts.
Now you spoke about inflation and like things just going crazy because of COVID and whatnot. But did you notice that AMSOIL hasn't changed their price in the past, like all throughout this crazy
Oh
shit?
man, that's funny you say that. I did notice that because we just ordered shock oil for get Josh's shocks ready for the season, and yeah, there's a bunch of silly stuff that I ordered from them, like they have the equivalent of SC1 spray. It's called Mud Grappler or something, or
Does it smell like cherry still?
oh, it smells so good. Yeah,
Oh,
so good. But
get me some.
I use it. I use that like whatever on new parts or all sorts of stuff. Interior. Yeah. We coated Josh's Jeep with it before we went to that first Renegades. No, that was Renegade. Oh no, that was Darkwater. Yeah. Did that end up helping? I forgot.
A little bit.
Yeah.
You could tell like underneath and like the shocks and suspension and stuff.
Yeah,
When you wash it off, it's not as.
Yup.
Yeah, it's not like as stuck on there, I guess you could say.
So I listened to I went back and I listened to a bunch of the Built East podcasts, and let me tell you, when you get Kirby on, they're hilarious. All those episodes are hilarious.
Yeah, me and Kirby. Yeah, we're special. We are special. We can't be trusted together. That's for sure.
I can still say to this day, the episode where you two spoke on conspiracy theories was my absolute most favorite episode by far. It was just chaos, but it was so fucking good. I loved it.
Well, that's life, man. You gotta talk about the truth sometimes.
Oh man.
I was watching some. I was deep on the Vatican last night about the Holy Grail. That was a good one.
Is it actually up in Canada and Nova Scotia or whatever that fucking History Channel show is on?
I was more watching creepy documentaries about the people that had the physical, like the radiation poisoning and stuff that came in contact with it. That's very interesting.
What? I've yet to hear about that. That sounds pretty wild.
What? Yeah, of course. The guy that protects it, the blind, and everyone goes blind. And they think it's because of some spell or some shit that's on it, but they're hanging out next to a fucking ancient nuclear weapon or reactor. Probably just a reactor. I think it's a reactor that used to power the pyramids. And then they jacked that shit and they put it in a gold box, to try to contain it. But and then they jacked it and there's fucking bounced through the Crusades and all that stuff, and now it's hidden somewhere. But I think it's just a reactor that some fucking pirates stole, From
the
anyways, back to SC1 spray. Yeah, no, that stuff's great. Smells good too. Don't huff it though.
Oh shit.
Well, it sounds like you're talking from experience.
Jesus. So, anyways, back to the vans, because the vans are really fucking cool, and isn't it true? Like they're kind of expensive, but can't you still get like normal RV loans on them for a stupid amount of years and pay like nothing a month for them because they're still considered an RV?
Yeah, I don't know if you were just on the Instagram recently, but there's a van that we did. It's called a Storyteller Beast mode, and it's got like the old Toyota graphic on it, so it's white with the orange and red stripe that go down the side. And you can finance those for 20 years.
That's insane.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
'Cause it's a camper loan, and they just, it's 220 grand,
Wait, the RV itself is this Mercedes van is 200 and holy fucking what?
Some of them are. The cheaper ones are like 160, 170 right now, and then like that one has
fuck.
Yeah, that beast mode one has everything. Has everything. So it's like 220, I think, after tax and everything like that.
So how does it work though? Does someone buy the van and approach you about doing like a 4-wheel drive swap on it, or do you go about getting the van, doing the 4-wheel drive swap, and then trying to sell it?
We're just an off-road shop and we install cool parts on things. That's it. So people, people that want their suspension to be better, they usually call around first, call people who make the suspensions, ask on forums. By the time my phone rings, they know my first name and 3 of my customers, and that's why they're here.
So
Okay.
you pretty much took working on like the JKs to the max. Like you were like, the guys with the JKs have the money, but there's these assholes with vans who have the real money.
No.
Is
The
that-
money's in Tacomas. I've found. I've only done one. But I don't know. Those guys will pay a lot of money for stuff that really isn't that hard to put on.
I'm gonna say no. No, I was just a nerd that liked off-road stuff, and I started selling a good company that was making good suspension, and they know that I know how suspension works, and they know Josh works here, and they know that we have heads on our shoulders. So just about anybody, on the East Coast, top to bottom, they tell them to come here. So
That's
is
really cool. That's really
awesome.
cool.
yeah, so that's where a lot of it comes from. We got some customers very far away.
And they're happy to drive that distance to make sure that you do the work on it.
Well, it's all like it's all this one. It's a big picture that comes together. Like if you have enough money to have that van, right? Well, you're probably a pretty diligent person that does their research. You keep an eye on your money. You do your homework on things, and so not only do they have the money, they do their research. They know, all the forums say to get this Van Compass suspension. Well, they call Van Compass and go, hey, who's the best person to install this? This is where I live. They know to do that. Poor people don't know to do that kind of stuff.
True. They grab a welder and pretend like they can put it together.
So like that's how they get to that point, and then the remainder of it is, well, they're van people. They're literally investing the value of a house to be able to go out on the road and drive wherever they want. So like between those two things, it's a no-brainer for them to be like, oh, that's where I should go. Great. Well, it's one of my van trips, and they drive here and they either get a rental car or they go to the airport and fly back home. It's, these people they've dedicated to like that style of life. So it's nothing for them to come here and get the work done that they're looking for,
I guess when you drive a van and live out of it, it's, the distance isn't really the problem.
Oh,
We show up in the morning, there's customers sleeping in their vans sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. They'll show up here on a Sunday night, cook dinner, and sleep in their van. And by the time I'm done drinking my coffee and the lights are on, they're walking in the door yawning, handing me the keys.
That's really fucking cool. No wonder you guys are happy to stay like in that scene, regardless of the money, but just the fact of that a major company knows to tell these people to go to you. That's really fucking cool.
I mean, that's saying something.
Tell them about the rack.
That
was kind of cool.
Oh yeah. So there's this company in Florida, and the reason me and this company know each other, not only because we share customers, but I had purchased one of their roof racks that they make for spinner vans. It's the one in my logo, actually. You can see it. And that roof rack originally was only designed to have like a light bar on the front. And this customer that I was working for in particular wanted that kind of Baja pre-runner look. So he wanted 5 huge lights in the front. So I had to cut it up, and redesign it so around the lights and weld it back up. And I did. And then, of course, I shared a bunch of pictures of it, and time went on, and I made it my logo. And that same company who made the rack originally, should I even explain that they stopped up here? Nah, we'll leave that out. Yeah, there's just one day the owners drove up here to meet with me. It was really, anyways. So anyways, they had a customer in New York, and and he put the 5 Baja LP9s on the top without modifying it, just hung them up, sticking way up in the air. But those things are like 15 pounds each. They're so much heavier than a light bar. And this dude is from Brooklyn, New York, with a big, long wheelbase van. And, the bad roads and everything, over time, the bracket actually broke off the roof rack. And working with that company who made it in Florida, he's in Brooklyn, the logistics of that warranty work was like a disaster. So they called me up and they're like, "You're the only one we trust to do this. Like, can you do it?" And yeah, so this dude drove from Brooklyn, New York, and we pulled the roof rack up. Dave repaired it, and yeah, happy customer. But that's a business all the way down in Florida that I was their only phone call. They were like, "No way, it's going to you. So how do you need to make it work?"
That's really cool.
Yeah, man, it's the internet's a beautiful place. I owe a lot of this business to the internet. Like, a lot of smart people that have money and know what they want know to do their research. So, if, you're doing a good job putting your work out there and doing good work, it comes back pretty easily, which is nice. It's really nice.
So speaking of the internet, you mentioned in one of your podcasts a while back, this was probably 2 years ago at this point, you mentioned doing a rally in Massachusetts, going like having certain, I don't know if you wanted to do it as a poker run or however you were going to set it up, but going to certain parks in the area within like a week or something of that matter. Have you thought about that any further? Because I thought that was the coolest fucking idea. So
He's got a lot of cool.
I got a lot of cool ideas, man. I'm filled up to my eyeballs in them. That's one of them. So the answer is, then you guys want a job, or because I do not have a lot of spare time. I don't have enough spare time to feed the idea machine in my head. I'm sure Josh could tell you about, but yeah, that was one of them. I don't even remember talking about it, dude. That was a whole 3 episodes ago, man. What'd you say, 2 years?
yeah, I think it literally was like 2 years ago.
Quite literally, I think that was 2020, right after the summer after KOH. So yeah, that was the summer of 2020. Oh yeah, I remember, because we had to wear masks and stuff to even get gas. That was crazy.
Insane time.
Anyways, so I mean, yeah, who was I talking to about it? Like, it was just an idea. I mean, me and John pre-ran it from Hack Shack Racing.
I honestly don't even know. I haven't listened to it recently. I still remember this because I thought it was just that cool of an idea. And I do remember I think in that same episode, you were talking about how you should have aired down because your suspension wasn't taking it as well.
So I talked about it after it then. Yeah, because that was a big mistake of the day, I'll tell you that much. No, dude, that's a really good idea, and I am going to do something like that eventually. I don't know if it'll be at that scale. I mean, because that was wild. Man, what did we do? We did...
And that was also when Harris was around, so that kind of takes a
out
of it.
Nope, nobody cares about that. So, what do we do? So you guys know John Mackowitz, right?
No.
Jesus Christ. Okay, well, all right. Education time. Stop. Back up. Remember that? Remember earlier when you were like, "Oh, what do you mean by we?" With racing.
Yes.
I guess we may have gone off on a tangent, didn't finish that. So let me finish that to give you a little bit of perspective as to who John is. So, yeah, racing. That's who we went to King of the Hammers with. Was John? Am I saying his last name right? Mackowitz?
Yeah, Mackowitz.
Yeah. Hack Shack Racing. Okay. He's got a TJ.
4600
class, which is like a stock class, but whatever, his axles are swapped and it's got a 4-liter. Anyway, so that's who we went to KOH with. And me and Josh had already done Renegades on the Ridge, and then Josh did another race, I think, before that. And we were like, I don't know, we're friends with John. And
I've been friends with John for a while.
Yeah, we've been friends with John, but and he's been going out there for a while with this thing. And racing, and we knew that, and me and Josh are racing crackheads. So when it came time for KOH, it was kind of like John's normal crew wasn't going with him to pit and, help him race. And again, me and Josh are crazy. So we just put it together and we were going with him.
I volunteered to ride shotgun race car.
Yep, Josh was co-driver. So we did that, and that was like super fun, and we work well together, and we're all kind of equally psyched on it. Not only Josh has a Jeep that he likes racing, but I just love racing in general. So, and I was already working with Falcon. John had been sponsored with Falcon prior. We're all, I don't know, I guess after KOH, even at home, you're all jacked up for a few months after that, convincing yourself you need a toter home and a race car. But, we all were hanging out more and talking, and I think I probably was pretty pushy about it. Like, hey, well, let's make this a regular thing and whatnot. And John had already had for a while aspirations of ramping it up because he'd been racing that class. And I don't know what a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, he started making moves towards we already went and bought it, a Miller chassis, Eric Miller's race car. He bought a real unlimited car, and we're building a real Ultra 4 race car. So As time goes on, Josh, we're going to keep Josh racing, and, in that.
I will be riding in the faster car.
Yeah, well, locally and stuff, we're going to try to go as many races as we can with Josh's and in whatever class you might want to put that, in whatever class it remains in, his Jeep. But in the meantime, we're going to help John put together that unlimited car and do some real Ultra 4 racing. Josh is going to be his co-driver.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that was a minor detail. We didn't finish that conversation. So anyways, that's John. Back to the scavenger hunt idea. So John really liked my idea. I think everyone I've really talked to about it likes the idea. There's just a lot of logistics involved that I'm so busy running this place that I don't even have time to do something like that. But so me and John pre-ran it. He's like, you know what? I'm going to pre-run it. And he's like, I would love to do that with the race Jeep. It's good for getting some seat time and get some road miles and some trail miles. And so he met me at the shop one day. It was like a Friday. It was like 99 degrees out that day. And we started here in Granby. But the first trail we wanted to do was up in, I don't even know where, near Old Florida Road, called Tunnel Road. It's a very mild trail. But, anything fast is harder. So we did that. And then we went to Old Florida Road. And then we went down to Mabel. And then we did Harris Mountain nonstop. We didn't stop the air up or air down. Go as fast as we could, and it wasn't as fast as we could. We drove nice and slow in the street. We kept an okay pace in the woods. John could have just left me in the wind because his Jeep actually has suspension in it, but I think we did it in like 5 hours or something like that, where our intentions were to hit, we hit Mabel and then we hit Harris Mountain and then we went back to the shop, and that was like 3 p.m. We started at 8, but we were going to end it at 5:08 out in Charlton or wherever that is, Charlton. But it was 3:00 and we didn't feel like, because that's another like hour from the shop. Mm-hmm. So that would add like 4 hours to it. But I thought it'd be cool to end it there because it's kind of a venue type deal. I don't know if you guys have been there yet.
We have not.
And I still might do it because that day was so fun. All those trails are so small. I mean, you guys know they're so small, and it's like you spend your whole day just for 2 hours of a trail, and then it's over.
Yep.
Kind of lame.
Yep.
And that whole day was like having just a few vehicles and just going as fast as we can. And I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but well-kept vehicles that didn't fall apart.
Oh, yes.
It was nice. We just kept going and going and going, and there was never a single issue, and made for a really fun day. And I don't know. I wanted to make it like an all-out race where I like took on sponsors and the winner gets a bunch of money. But uh, even if we did it as like a trail ride day, like a fun trail ride day, I think that'd be really cool. So it's on my mind. Hopefully I get some time
I think
at some point.
the one benefit for having it to be like having the vehicles have to be street legal, I think helps a lot because a lot of times I've noticed that street drivable, not necessarily street legal, but street drivable rigs tend to be more reliable, I guess would be the best answer. Because it seems that a lot of the guys who just neglect their rigs, then just throw them on a trailer and then go out into the woods, always have the dead battery, or then they throw a belt. Speaking of the devil, um, stuff of
What did
that
I
nature.
do wrong?
No,
Throwing belt. Anyways, so
we were talking about unreliable rigs, and you popped it. It was kind of crazy.
Oh, well, yeah, that fits.
Oh shit, here he is. Look at that.
yeah, no, man, I agree. I agree. Unfortunately, I think that race would probably start with my friend base. I'm friends with a lot of psychos that'll
Mhm.
drive things on the road that they probably should not. So I don't know how that's good on paper. I don't know how accurate it would end up being. Like, if I made it a super public thing, I'm sure a bunch of people with Land Rovers and stuff would be like, "Oh, it's the camel run." But no, I think it would be more like people like Josh, like putting license plates on something that absolutely doesn't need it should have license plates and doing it anyways, and all of us going to jail, kind of cannonball style, you know?
I still have a title for my Jeep.
Yeah, see, exactly. Like Old Florida Road, Josh's Jeep could probably do it in probably like 30, 40 minutes, like the whole trail. But it probably even faster than that. I couldn't even put a number on it.
I still want to go to Mabel one day and go up and down.
Oh, dude, it's embarrassing. Even John in his race DJ, which is still coils with shocks, stock wheel wells, 35s, which were a very similar setup, like Jeep wise. When we went there, it took me I think it was like 13 minutes to get to the top, and John was out of his Jeep drinking water, relaxing. Like he was just up there waiting for me. He must have got up there in half the time. So I'm sure Josh's Jeep would get up there in like 4 minutes flat.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, there was one time Luke and I went to Mabel, and I mean, this is on a total different scale because his aren't even as capable as John's rig. But we went there. There was a group that was on trail. They were off on like the bypasses, whatnot. Him and I just kind of went up the center, and we were at the top watching them come up certain obstacles. Just like, all right, guys, come on, hurry up. So I can only imagine with a fully built rig, how much different that would have been.
Yeah, for sure.
We managed to run that. We went back down, hit the obstacles by loading dock, and passed through them twice.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot here, you know, because, you know, obviously it's in the nature of the room. Oh, man, I want to go wheeling, you know, we talk about it. It's like, Mabel, like we're at a point now where like Mabel's like a once a year thing, like twice a year. And it's really only fun if you have like 10, 15 people there, maybe some idiot Cherokee kids that you don't know that's like kind of, watch the animals, you know, that kind of thing. Everyone stops at every ledge and watches, you know, yells at each other and tries to make them screw up. You know, that's a fun day at Mabel. If you just go, like we went in the fall on a Friday. We were supposed to go somewhere and it got canceled. So I was like, all right, guys,
We're get the race car.
we were supposed to go get the chassis. Yeah. And whatever got canceled. So we were like, all right, well, I was like, all right, I'll meet you guys in East Hampton. We're going to breakfast and we're going to Mabel instead of working on Friday. and we ate breakfast. We did Mabel, all three of our Jeeps.
Yeah.
Came back down and it wasn't even lunchtime.
Wow.
There was still frost on everything. The sun was still like coming up. It was like, oh, this is kind of boring with a couple of people.
I think that our record to the top is 12 minutes for Ryan and myself, just going up there on a test and tune run.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
If
for
you're
sure.
If you're
It's
just trying to speed up, you can get up in like less than 10 minutes if you really wanted to. If you were trying to, right?
Yeah,
And with,
and that
with
was
something like
hitting-
Josh's rig, you could just
Josh's rig.
with the right experience too, you can just cruise up that like it's nothing. Especially if you like it's Mabel. Everybody's done it a million times. Like it changes slightly, but all the obstacles are roughly the same. It's the same old.
I would put
It's
money. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say it's a playground. It's a different. It's not a trail
Yeah.
at all. It's not. It's a playground with a bunch of features that have a weaving mellow road between them, so people with stock vehicles can come watch the circus animals do flips on rocks.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was gonna point out. Is that I don't know. I've done my belt so many times now that it's not as much fun for me. But for teaching new people how to wheel and to get them out there, it's almost the perfect trail for it. Where like, yeah, you could go to battlegrounds and there's a trail for them, but the blacks are so far on the opposite side of the property that they don't get to, or even the reds, they don't get to see that and understand the furthest extent of wheeling. Where at least at Mabel, they can go through, as you said, the weaving road, and then look right to their left and see somebody trying to go up the loading dock, and they're pointed pretty much at 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock, which is sick.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting place, and it's funny that it's our only place.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The clubs are definitely good for expanding that. Then like it kind of does suck if you're not in a club up there because you don't have like the AOPs, the chocos, and all that stuff local. You
It's
kind
not
of
like you
have.
wheel. Shut up.
Fuck off.
Well, I'm believe it or not, have never been part of a club. Still not.
Really?
Yeah, sucks. There's a lot
Well-
of cool things I can't do.
That's gonna change this year.
That's gonna change this year, maybe, kind
I
of.
was gonna say, why wouldn't you? I mean, it seems that you have a few friends in Rockaholics. It's
Yeah, just
What-
get
what-
absorbed
what-
by that, right?
what
Just
would a club stop you from doing that? You like, I've only seen clubs excel people's like love for wheeling, so I'm kind of surprised by that.
Well, that's the thing. I'm friends with everyone in all the clubs, so I just weasel my way into the events that I want to go to.
yeah, I was gonna
And
say
then,
that's usually how it goes. You're
yeah. So, I've never had a real, aside from not being allowed to go to fall crawl or any club only things. Well, that's really it. But like I've never been to Badlands. I've never been to Crazy Eights, and I really want to go, but like it's kind of those don't really have big public events that often, so I can't go.
Could have went to Wheeling for Warriors last year at Badlands. Could have went.
Could have. I was doing something. I don't know.
You
I
were
was busy.
working. You know, it's crazy. It's almost like
No,
going
because
to
Josh
business.
went and I was busy. I don't know. Probably had a birthday or something. Who knows?
What were you doing?
I was doing
Middle
something.
of
Otherwise,
June.
obviously, I
Yeah,
would have
end
been
of
there.
June.
End of June. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
man's birthday. So yeah,
I think it was his birthday.
probably home partying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. What were we talking about?
We were talking about why you wouldn't have joined a club.
Close.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. It's something I've never had to do, and
Mhm.
with someone with zero spare time or brain capacity, if I don't, it's not on the have to do list. It doesn't get done, unfortunately. But I am gonna join Rockaholics hopefully in around the. I'm going to Wheeling for Warriors, so I'm gonna, shake babies and kiss hands and see if I can weasel my way into their club. Yeah, I went to whatever. I went to their club day that they rented out Field and Forest, right? That was just the club weekend,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was awesome. Bunch of cool people, nice and quiet at night, stay in their own corners, unless you don't want to.
Except for Rob.
It's my yeah. I don't know Rob. I
You
don't
know
know
that?
Rob.
I'm not gonna say the
Levi,
last name.
obviously.
Oh yeah,
Or Levi.
May have
or,
Whatever his
The
name
one
is.
may have a tattoo or one or two of them.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Love Rob, just to clarify. But great guy.
Nope. I don't know him at all. I don't know him at all.
But I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense too. And with owning the business, if you aren't planning 3 months out, then it's probably not going to happen unless it's super, super sporadic. So it kind of makes sense that a club wouldn't necessarily be the best thing because unless it's Rockaholics, who is like what, every weekend there's an event ready for people to go to. So
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Yeah, if it's a club with the most events going on, like if I do have some spare time, I can just go. All right, where are people going to be this weekend? Which is kind of cool. And then, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be awesome.
So I'm coming in an hour late, basically, but have we talked about how Josh got in with Built for the East yet, or
No, we actually have not.
because I kind of want to hear that.
Well,
I've been
we kind of touched on
we
it a
touched
little
on it.
bit. Is there any more that we haven't added, or that you guys haven't added? Pardon me.
that you want to add.
Mm,
Well, let's do this. With Josh being there, how much has he excelled your business? There we go. Throw right into the mix. Make you talk about it.
Yeah. I would probably say 80 to 120% increase.
Wow.
So more than double.
What do you feel that he brings that you guys didn't have before?
A clone of me. Great. You just, you can literally, so in the world of working on things for a living, having, like, when you have a standard for how you, like, need to do things and, like quality wise and functionality and, like, but also still, like, keeping in mind the customer and, like, what's best for them, like, that's actually really rare, like, to be on the same page as somebody with all of those things. And me and Josh are just like 99.9% of the time on the same page about everything. So, like, if he's doing something, I don't even have to ask questions. Like, just let me know how it got done in the end. Like, it doesn't matter, because we're on the same page. So if there's a problem, aside from, like, asking each other opinions as far as, like, what's the right thing to do and, like, how to get this done the right way and what's best for us, what's best for the customer, we're 100% on the same page with, like, everything.
That's huge.
That sounds hard to believe, but we are, and makes things very easy.
That's
now. Oh, sorry. Go
no.
ahead.
I was just gonna throw in. I mean, I can't understand that to a full extent because I've never owned a business, but I was a manager of 4 guys working on my last job, and just getting them to do one thing that was in the same mindset as me was so not difficult, but it was like pulling teeth. So being able to have that guy that can just do it and know that it's going to be done to what you would expect as well, I can't even imagine the bliss that must come from that. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and it's I mean, there's some structure to it. Like, if there's a problem with a suspension or you're, like, designing something to work a certain way, well, I mean, there's only a few paths to get to it working what you would say is the right way, So if both our mindsets are, well, what's the right way to get this to work correctly? Like, we're probably going to have the same opinion because that's what makes it work the right way. You know what I mean? So, I mean, part of it's just being educated and having a brain and knowing how things work. But yeah, as far as, like, bliss, yeah, I mean, if you just hand somebody do-it-yourself 4-link and say, put that axle in that vehicle with these coilovers and not have to worry about anything and not have to worry about a single question being asked or how it's getting done. Like, I could literally just walk the customer out there and point and say, yeah, there you go. Look, great. And be proud of it and not even, like, have to have part of it because I know it got done right, which is, yeah, it's a dream come true.
Fucking huge, because the last major project I did was building a 4-link, and I sat down and did all the numbers and stuff, and that took me like a couple of weeks to figure out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. So having that innately is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's it's nice. It's too good to be true for sure. We're lucky to get to work on the things that we get to work on and make a living. Pretty awesome.
Now, has that changed the direction that you're taking the shop?
You mean Josh coming on with what he has?
Yeah, because I've been seeing a lot of like, I follow your page and whatnot. I've seen a lot of cool stuff coming out where you're doing cages and stuff that I've seen you, Adam, do, but there's a much higher turnaround rate on it, and I didn't know if that was a direction that you guys were looking to continue going, or if you're going to keep going with the van stuff.
Well, the way you worded that is definitely not what I want. High turnaround is not, I don't like having a deadline. It really is not fun. When you're building things and you're trying to do things the right way, having a deadline is not cool. But anyways, the answer is
like
no, I know. I just wanted to put that out there.
yeah, that's fair. I totally get that too.
all these people, off-road stuff's one thing, but like van people that don't know what building stuff is, a lot of them do not understand timelines. Like you can like on custom building something, whether it's wiring or fabrication, you cannot put a deadline on that because you're going to sacrifice like sometimes you got to redo wiring 3 times because you're halfway through it and you're like, nope, logistic wise, this doesn't make sense. We got to redo this. And if you put a deadline on something, it ruins all of that. Anyways, end rant. So yeah, back to Josh growing the business. A big change was, when Josh came here, I really didn't like projects, like big projects, because I was doing that day-to-day stuff, just lift kits, suspension, bumpers, blah, 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 blah. And projects require like your full attention, like a roll cage project, You can't just like, oh, I'm changing this part, oh, the phone's ringing, I'm out of here. Or, oh, I'm changing this part, oh, I'm going to do a little bit of that job. No, you have to like start the day, start that fabrication project, get your mind in line with what you're doing. You have to stay there. So like big projects never worked out for me until Josh came along. And like I said, I could take care of all the other stuff and just say, hey, this is what you're doing today, all day, just this, you're doing this. That made a big difference. So we're able to do bigger projects. I'm sure you guys saw Ben's Cherokee, that gold TJ we did for Josh. The customer's name was Josh, which was a full GenRite build front to back. Like I would have never been able to do those things while running the rest of the business. That's like impossible. So yeah, I mean that changed everything for sure. I mean, he could tell you we're busy up to our busier than we can handle now already.
Sure. They're two totally different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, two different industries, but half the van and overlanding and Toyota people come here because they see that stuff. They see us doing stupid stuff in the woods with our Jeeps and being like, well, if their engineering's good enough for that, good enough for my Toyota. So it's all working together for sure, even though it's different.
And that brings up an interesting point. What was one of the most interesting things you found doing more of the overlanding stuff? Because all I know is rock crawling, and my camping trip is at best level of preparation, packing a cooler. At worst level of preparation, sleeping in the Jeep in my sweatshirt. So,
I think it's a lot of like Boy Scouty people that like got Toyotas and rooftop tents, and all of a sudden it was heavy, so they took to the forums and found out they need suspension, and then they're calling us and we're putting suspension in it. But the thing is like we have a select like crew of customers. Crew's a bad word, they don't fucking know each other. A select group of customers that actually go out and go like real overlanding, like go out into Canada, all the Maine woods all summer long. And it's these people, like I said, that were like riding mountain bikes their whole life and whatever, hiking, and then they got this vehicle. They have no idea like the hell they're putting their vehicles through. Sometimes they come in here and they're just like totally oblivious that their vehicle's like completely trashed because it's 1,500 pounds over its stock weight, and they did 1,500 miles of dirt roads in the Maine woods in a week. And then like daily drove it for 2 months after that. And then they call me because they have a squeaky noise, and they're surprised. So like, that's been kind of crazy. Funny. Yeah, that's been crazy. Those people do a lot of research. Like most of the time they're sold on what they want before they even call me. So it's like, that's the conversation starts with, hey, can you get me this suspension? And, a lot of times I do a lot of not selling. They'll call me with some bizarre request. I'm like, hold on, what are you doing with your truck? You don't need that. You don't need full Fox coilovers, with the Fox Performance clickers and reservoirs just because you drive this to work and you don't like the potholes,
Well, you never know. You might have to dial that in for the potholes depending on the season, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't hurt.
Those potholes are fucking gnarly.
No, that makes sense. People definitely, especially if they've got a bunch of money, will overbuy stuff that they just don't need. So that's
Oh
really
yeah, and
valuable as a, as a company
it's
too.
yeah, it's cool. And a lot of the oblivious ones that like literally have no clue. Like I said, they'll call me with that big list, and I'll be like, "Do you really need this and that?" And like, you only wanted to go with this suspension. If you don't buy these things, we can buy you a nice suspension. And instead of all this stupid skid plates and stuff, why don't you get a winch first, then get the skid plates? Because chances are you're going to get stuck in snow before you go bottoming this thing out.
Yep.
But yeah, that's how a lot of my conversations go, and it's really bizarre sometimes what people get from the internet and think they need, and they have money to back it up. Like they can really get themselves in a corner with a vehicle they don't need for sure.
Kind
Yeah.
of crazy too. Sorry, Graham. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's super easy, especially if they've got something comfortable that they like driving, to overbuild it to the point where it's no longer what they expected, and then they don't like it, right? I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. I got one in particular. I regret ever answering that phone.
Hmm.
He got a suspension that the internet told him he needed, and it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare following, because just if it's the best thing for off-road, chances are it squeaks and pops and clunks on the
Yep.
street. That's that's if you get in Josh's Jeep and drive down the street, you're gonna be really worried.
See, that was an argument not an argument, that was a discussion I just had with somebody on whether or not they should do Heims or keep going with like Johnny joints or like a rubber bushing, and I couldn't find the best words to explain why. Like obviously, any company goes with rubber bushings, or why Johnny joints are even a thing. That's like the perfect answer. And now I can text them back and give them that answer of, it's just like you have to understand now what each noise makes because of its region, and not just pop it in gear, just go. So that was a good point.
You just have to ignore all the noises, and a lot of people
Yeah, but
don't
then
know what they're doing or didn't put it together are gonna hear those and be like, "What the fuck is wrong with my truck?" Right?
But then, like Buckley gets in my Jeep and hears like the cross member creak once or twice, or the upper control arm smack the floor. He's just like freaking out, like, "Holy shit, this thing's gonna break in half!" And I'm like, "Nah, dude, it's all good. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine."
Oh, it is my bump stop.
The bump stops they're there. They just they were
yeah,
high cut. They were not measured.
No.
They were like $20 polys. Okay, the fuck do I care? I didn't even cap off the actual stock bump stop. It's just gonna hole punch it at some point. I'm not
it's
worried.
saving a metal in fabrication time. It's just self-clearancing the floor, and then it'll be perfectly fit.
At the
right?
time, it was impossible to find a track bar Dom for my shit box. Okay, so I didn't even bother trying to find anything else. It was just what I had was
a
going.
track bar, Dom. You mean
Okay,
inch and
no,
a half?
Dom for the. I don't fucking know. I didn't measure it out my asshole. All right, whatever I had. It's been like a year and a half. I forget exactly what
pegging references.
You got a micrometer in there?
No. I use the outside, but I measure from the inside just to make myself feel better too. But when I was trying to find the Dom for my track bar, sorry, I didn't use the best grammar. My apologies, Graham. It was fucking impossible. I had to buy it from a buddy of mine. Then afterwards, Chris was like, "Oh shit, I had a bunch of that. You should have just asked me." Well, put it up on Facebook. But anyways, God, I felt like Adam there. I was just going on and on.
Yeah, that's me.
I did the same
We
thing,
appreciate
but
it.
but yeah, it's crazy. Just the quote unquote normie getting into a rig that's designed for off road ish things, as if like when I'm referring to myself, and it's different. It's totally different.
Yeah, and I've learned that lesson over time. Trust me, dude. In the beginning, I sold things to people that I wish I had talked them out of. Because further down the road, they're like, "Man, I don't know. My Icon coilovers they're getting corrosion on the adjusters." Well, you live in New England, man. Like now, I won't sell metal body shocks to people here. Like it's Fox or anything lower than that. Like King and Icon and those. Even the Dobinson's one. We had a Dobinson's one the other day that has a really nice coating on it. It was trash. It was only a year old.
Wow.
Yeah, it had powder coat on it. It's a beautiful product, but like there's a lot of stuff that if you're daily driving in the Northeast, you just shouldn't even have it. Even if it works good, like it's not worth having because it's going to get tracked.
The JL sway bar.
Yeah.
The anti-rock and all corroded.
Yeah, we installed an anti-rock bar on a customer that wanted they wanted sway bar disconnects, but this customer in particular is very sensitive to noises. It's in here quite a bit just for very small clunking and rattling noises, which is fine.
Have they tried turning up the radio by chance?
Yeah, well, it's if I had a nice JL that was built and I daily drove it, I would hear the same noises. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying this customer is very sensitive to noises. So they wanted disconnects, and I said no, because the disconnects will like travel back and forth on the pins a little, like when you pull in and out of your driveway, and they'll go, they make a little bit of noise. And this person doesn't go off-roading that much, For the most part, they're driving on the streets. They're a daily driver, but it's on 37s. So I said, all right, well, if you think you need disconnects, but you driving on the road and you need to handle well, why don't you put an anti-rock bar in there? Like, it's the best thing money can buy. Let's do it. And we did it. And after 2 months, maybe not even, of daily driving it in the winter, the links, the rod ends on the links were just, they looked like they were 3 years old. They were trashed from salt.
Wow.
And they were like that. I thought they were like that zinc coated grade 8 gold, color.
Oh, I
like
think
that
I'm
bolts would be
looking
and
at
stuff.
that picture on your Instagram now. Yeah, they were gold initially.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's just like normal, whatever, like grade 8 coating. Like it'll last. It's fine. No, that was straight up raw metal. So lesson learned. We need to paint those links from now on.
Jeez.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know what the point was that we were getting at, but yeah, the daily driving of modified vehicles is becoming quite the education that I have to give people because
It is quite an education.
yeah, I mean you gotta take, it's not a stock vehicle anymore. You can't just go 8,000 miles between looking at it. Like you have to pay attention. If there's a noise, you need to like look at it immediately. You have to, if things are greasable, you need to actually be greasing them. And every 3-4 years, trail arm bushings, things like that, you need to keep an eye on things. Like stuff starts wearing out. It's not stock anymore.
Just blast it with WD, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean,
fluid film,
yeah,
fluid film.
you're talking about maintenance, man. Normal people don't do that.
Some people have never heard of it. What are you talking about?
And some people think that because they buy a $5,000 suspension, it just goes in, and it's like the $5,000 upgrade at the dealership on your stock vehicle, and now it's just better. But no, you bought a hobby, is what you did.
Yeah.
You bought a hobby that you either need to bring down to us to look at every service, or do it yourself in your driveway. But you need to keep an eye on it.
Like, I've had a couple of, because my Jeep's back on the road now. I've had a couple of people ride with me, and it's like, what's that noise? Oh, it's just the coilovers doing their thing. What's the other noise? Oh, that's just the fuel pump, because it's got the fuel cell in there, and why is it creaking? I probably need to spray the links again with WD.
Unibody's folding in half. Yeah, it's fine.
We don't talk about that. Just ignore it, and it's not happening.
Yeah,
Great.
A lot of weird noises. I just tuned them out now. My rear shocks, everybody always bitches at me about them. Literally all I need to do is put a couple washes in there. It's been like that for 3 years. I can't hear it anymore. They rattle. They rattle back and forth like an eighth of an inch. They just click back and forth. It bugs the shit out of everybody who gets in it, and it used to bug me, but I can't hear it anymore. Just totally tuned out.
No, it's
You guys
Collins.
are all doing it wrong. You need a bigger motor.
I know.
It takes care of all the noises.
You just did that
anything.
a year ago, okay, mister?
Or a smaller motor. My 4-cylinder is very loud.
Sure is.
Smaller exhaust, right?
Yeah, I think I need a smaller exhaust. I don't know. Mine's extremely loud. It's not fun to drive.
Does it have an exhaust?
My Jeep, when I acquired it, I don't want to say I bought it. I definitely acquired it. It had no exhaust on it. It just had a downpipe. So it had no cat. So I just made a straight exhaust all the way to the back. not straight, but no cat or anything. And I put like a Flowmaster 40 sideways back there where the gas tank used to be. And it was so loud that even like when I was like gearing down a hill, like a flame would pop out of it once in a while.
While you're on the
So-
topic of your Jeep, tell us a little bit about it afterwards.
Okay. And of course I drive my son around in it, which at the time was only like 2.5, 3. So I could not have it be that loud. So I actually, where the cat used to be, like next to the tea case there, I welded in a cherry bomb. And then to like contain the gases inside the cherry bomb, so like the glass would eat up some of the noise, I welded in a couple baffles after it. So there's a cherry bomb, like 2 really restrictive baffles to the point where like I think it's burning up some valves. And then a couple of turns goes over my 4-link, and then there's a Flowmaster 40 back there, and it's still so loud. But it's all 2.5-inch, so I'm gonna make it 2-inch, and then I think I'm gonna get like a JK muffler and stuff it back there sideways and see if that makes it quieter. And if that doesn't work, we're gonna put an LS in it because those are quieter for some reason.
Huh. Okay.
You can have you can stand next to Josh inside the shop. I did it the other day, and have a conversation with him while his Jeep's running. You can't do that with mine.
It's louder in my Jeep than it is standing like right next to it outside of it.
That's kind of crazy.
Wild.
I wouldn't have expected
I think
that.
it's just because the muffler, everything's like underneath, and it kind of catches like under the roof and stuff.
Yeah, it dumps right behind his seats, and that's when the floor opens up, so it kind of like dumps into
Oh,
a
yeah,
cave
it
of
just
expensive
resonates.
parts.
Yeah.
A dirty, rusty cave of expensive parts.
True.
Describe a lot of Jeeps, but Josh's especially.
Yeah.
So tell us more about your Jeep. What's it got under it? What's it doing? What is it?
I'm not sure what year it is.
Off to a good
It's
start.
like a 9.
It's
It's 97 or 98. I don't know. It's one of those 2.
Mhm.
It's a TJ. Or was it TJ?
What?
And and it was a customer of mine, a good friend, that he had it in high school, and it had a Dana 30 in the front that was like kind of built up. It was sleeved, it was trussed, geared, and then the rear was a 8.8. Same thing, the whole Artex swap, all that stuff, chromos, everything. And it had like a short arm lift, but it was a Clayton, I think, so it was nice. And he had frame swapped it with another frame that was also rotted. And then it sat in his driveway. And then I started this business. He was like, "Ooh, do I have a job for you?" And he brought that thing down here. And I'm like, "Dude, this thing needs like 40 hours just to get this frame right." It was like rotted. It was crooked. Still is crooked. And like the body was like smoked, and like it didn't run that well and everything. And I was like, "Dude, just part this out," because he had a autocross car, and it was like I've been autocrossing with him. It was super fun. It was making him happy. I'm like, this thing's a year and like 20 grand worth of your money away from even working. So I parted it out for him because at the time I just started the business, so I had time on my hands. And it got down to the body, and my Jeep at that point was a trailer rig, and I hated it because I just don't like doing that, like driving it every day. Not every day, but you get the point. And so I always thought like Cherokees were so hard to work with. I wanted a framed vehicle, and this thing's sitting on my shop floor with a rotted frame. I was like, "Hey man, everything's gone except for the body. What do you want for it?" And he just gave it to me. So I got the body and the frame and the motor and the tranny, and it only had 120,000 miles on it, the 4-cylinder. And yeah, I just gutted my Cherokee and was like, I'm just gonna plaster these 1-tons under this bad boy and go. I started to like fix the frame, and there was nothing to even weld to. So I cut right where the driver's feet are, basically under the floor. I cut that off, and I started making it out of like 2x4 steel, and I started to put my tank up underneath where like it belongs, and it hung way down, and my axle was all up in it. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna put my gas tank inside in the back behind the back seat. Well, by the time it was there, it took up too much room for me to fit a car seat in front of it for my kids. So I chopped the body and the frame. Well, there was no frame. I chopped the body. I jigged it up as straight as I could and stretched it 6 inches, which was exactly what I needed to have my fuel tank, some armor between the fuel tank and then the back seat. And yeah, I jigged up the body 6 inches, stretched it, and then I built the frame to the body because I hadn't intended on this. I just kept cutting pieces off the frame, so I never like kept it square or like jigged up the frame or anything. So it was sitting on my floor with half a frame, and then I decided to stretch the body. So I stretched the body and just built the frame to the body, kind of like square wise. It was a bad plan, but it worked out well. Once I set up the suspension, my suspension's square. Just the frame's a little wonky, but
You just
so
have
yeah,
to
I got
account for those
I got
bags.
myself
You
half.
did.
I call it half an LJ because I think an LJ what is it, like 12 or 15 inches or 11?
They're 10. I think it's 10 inches
Yeah,
longer
so
than
mine's
TJ.
6-ish. My wheelbase is a little weird, but so yeah, it's got my 79 Dana 60s under it that were in my Cherokee. It's a four.
Cool.
Yeah, sure.
We were
I
talking about it a little earlier.
It was photogenic. So I got a 4-link in the rear, with 1.25" Heims, and then it's a 3-link in the front with like Johnny joints that are like 15 years old. They literally came out of a Jeep. I parted out with my friend like 10 years ago, and then I did my 1-ton swap. So I took the used length and made my 3-link, and that was like 8, 9, 10 years ago. I don't know, but they're still tight. But I think it's because they're so bad. They've never jiggled, but God, they squeak. So that's the front. I have like a surplus Ram, like hydro assist with a tapped box that I bought used off of Josh, which it came off of like a Cherokee buggy. And I literally I think I got it from your house with the Ram and the box and the hoses connected.
Yeah, it wasn't even disconnected.
And I never disconnected. I literally just like bolted it in my Cherokee, glued it to my axle. It worked great. And then when I did the Wrangler, the whole thing, links and everything, just rolled it out from under the Cherokee and rolled it under the Wrangler. And it's still rocking. I got a PSC Ram I bought off Josh like 9 months ago, and it's still just sitting out back because I don't know, this one just works. And I haven't gotten around to installing it, but so yeah, very super basic steering, stock 4-cylinder AX5 and a 231, homemade drive shafts. I'm gonna mess with my wheelbase soon, so I've been putting off buying real drive shafts, but I'm definitely gonna get Adams drive shafts front and rear. Those things are so nice, and we work with them a lot. And my axles over time have actually gotten nice parts in them. The gears are 538s, who I bought from the late and great Dan from DMR Off-Road. He hooked me up big time back in the day when he just sold parts. And I geared them, and I had welded diffs front and rear. That was awesome for a while. But then Cora from Torque Locker hooked it up with a real locker in the rear. That was nice. Because when I first built my Wrangler, there's a few pictures of it out there where like I would be driving down the street and I would go around a turn and the whole body would just fold over, like mirror touching the ground. It was because my diff was welded. So
No,
I had a locker.
that sounds about right.
And then it's funny, I was like delusional. When I got the locker from her, I'm like, oh yeah, of course I have 35 spline rear shafts. Like I thought I remembered, like we were talking about 10 years earlier. I thought I remembered my rear axle being a van axle, which was 35 spline. I don't know. I was remembering things because I would like put the torque locker in, super easy install. I'm like, oh man, this is going so good. Like my welded spider gears came out, no problem. Well, with a torch, but they came out. And I went to go slide the shaft in, and I'm like, it just goes zing. I'm like, what? And I had 30 spline axle shafts in the rear in that Cherokee the whole time I owned it, apparently. Wow. Yeah. So, of course, it's 2 days before a wheeling trip. So then Nitro Gear overnighted me some shafts for like, it was like under $400 for chromoly shafts. So that's how I ended up with chromoly. Yeah, so that's how I ended up with chromoly rear axle shafts. And the fronts, I did GM brakes, or Josh did the GM brakes for me recently. Instead of the stupid Ford sliding caliper thing. And then I just have like one high steer arm. It's not tied in or anything. It's just 4 bolts. Normal tie rod and gears and a welded diff. Stock shafts. And cheap G2 locking hubs that are still holding up. But yeah, that's about it. It's a stock 4-cylinder TJ sitting on top of some 1-tons.
4-cylinder?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, she's a 4-cylinder. And I recently got 37s. I know I mentioned that earlier, but I had 30. I built it around 35s because I thought I hated the trailer thing so much. I was like, no, this thing needs to drive awesome on the street. And I was like, if I'm going to run beadlocks, I'm going to have 35s. Like, if, to have it like go straight down the road and like not be ridiculous. I don't know why I was so dead set on that. Maybe it was a little influence from having a 4-cylinder. I was like, yeah, 35s are great. But, if you look at pictures of my Jeep, prior, it looks pretty silly with the 1-tons hanging way out and little 35s. My diff 4 inches off the ground. Yeah, but I finally got some 37s and it actually drives exactly the same on the road. So I've been missing out for a few years here. That's a bummer, but you got the 37s now, and that'll get me. I keep calling it a trail Jeep. I like driving on the street a lot, but I want to be able to do like whatever trail I want, within reason. And I think the 37s kind of are going to make that possible. It even kind of looks silly now, to be honest. It probably needs 40s, but I don't have the motor for that. So motor first, then maybe 40s. But for now, the 4-cylinder and the 37s are pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm changing all my front suspension up in my tire size now, but I really loved the way mine drove with the 1-tons and the 37s. I mean, I daily drove the thing, less so now because it's always apart, but for 3 years on the 37s and the 1-tons, it drove like a dream. Way better than it did with the stock axles. Probably because I just had them set up on the stock axles really badly, but when I actually did the 1-ton setup, it drove nice, it steered nice, everything was really nice about it. And then I sort of messed it up with my all the doubler crap I've been putting into it. It's just not built to do that really. And the EcoBox has been good, but it's not as nice it's not as simple, right? The 205 EcoBox stuff, all that crap just adds complexity and more places for it to mess up when you're going 60, 70 on the highway. So it's been interesting, but I loved the 37s and the 1-tons. That's it just worked well, and it does okay off road. You don't hang up too much once you learn where the diff is.
Yeah, I think that's kind of you didn't really make the point, I guess, but you did say it. But getting something that works really well off road to drive well on the road and last road miles beat the crap out of stuff.
Yep.
And a clapped out Cherokee will do fine in the woods for a very long time, but it's not, without a lot of really good equipment, to be able to beat it up in the woods and still have it drive good on the street is that's a big challenge. With any vehicle,
Next time, just call me out. Jesus, man. God. Okay.
I don't know. It was pretty cool. The last time we went to Mabel, or not the last time, the one before that, or so. Oh, no, I was being kind of naughty the last. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, No, I was gonna say the last time we went there, I didn't have my son with me, so I did some more ridiculous things. But actually, the last time we went out, I did have my son with me. And
Still do
I
the
was kind of
ridiculous things.
well, I had the rugged radio headsets on, so I could
Mhm.
talk to my son, which it makes it super fun. But I think it like gave me I like wasn't percepting my engine, and like you don't realize how much you listen to your vehicle until you can't hear it. And like I accidentally like lifted the front wheels up a silly ledge that I probably could have just like drove over. But I hit it, and then I like hit it harder because I thought I was slipping or something. But in reality, my Jeep was probably just like idling up it, and I like, couldn't hear it, so I fucking hammered it.
Hey, you're just building core memories for him, you know? Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah, his neck hurt the next day. But anyways, but the point being, it's cool to like, and even especially with my son with me, of course, I keep this in mind too with like the way I drive and like also the parts I put in and how I put them in it. It's cool to do that and then just be able to like unlock the hubs and drive home with my son, like feel okay about it and have it drive pin straight down the road, which it did.
Yeah.
Even though it was a short little silly Mabel run, it's only a couple of small things, but still with a Cherokee, like no matter how little you beat it, you're still like, all right, is everything still down there?
That is actually my mindset every time I go. Like I drive it somewhere to wheel. Like yes, I can use a trailer and trailer it there, but that's half the fun is driving it. And I don't care if it literally splits in half on trail, but every single time I'm like, fuck, I have to drive an hour home on like a 2-lane highway going 50 miles an hour. Yes, it can do it, but did I snap a steering box bolt and didn't realize it? Did I lose it like a control, like or a cross member bolt or something? And then next second I'm upside down in the other lane and kill the whole family. So you're totally right. That's every single time I wheel, I have to like second guess myself, do a quick bolt check, and then just run it at 10 psi home. And
It's been a long time since I really had anything fail or even like remotely go wrong, just because I drive so sparingly. But like I think my Jeep has a lot of Heim joints on it. Like my whole steering, my track bar, everything's Heim joints, my whole rear suspension. So like if something's wrong, immediately. Like you can feel the difference. Like, nope, something's loose. We gotta find it. It's pretty obvious with a Heim joint. It's either loose or it's tight. And I think that's a big part of it. Just as someone that has put a lot of road miles on ridiculous parts that probably shouldn't be on the road.
I think some of the best memories of my rig would be like driving it all the way from the bottom, or not bottom, but like Connecticut up to Mabel on the highway, wheeling it, driving it back. But I've had some weird fucking breakdowns that have never been suspension. Like melting a torque converter.
Oh god.
Uh,
And every motor ever on the thing, but that's usually close
Have you
to
ever-
home.
Have you ever considered a Toyota?
oh no. He just
Actually, yes. It
Right.
has been considered because I've seen a couple of cool buggies down here that I would be interested in.
I was just saying that because, like, if Advil doesn't work for you, try Tylenol. If the old 4-liter is failing on you, which it's not, that's not real. Maybe you should try a Toyota.
little 22 RE action, see if that's any better.
Yeah,
I was
just
thinking-
anything that doesn't have the Mopar logo on it.
Yeah, I guess, but like I love that Jeep, so it was
Okay.
honestly
we were just-
fine.
We were just talking about how
sorry.
you can take the suspension out of your XJ and put it in a TJ. You could probably take the suspension out of your XJ and put it in a Toyota.
Yeah,
But it
so
sounds
then,
like you can't get the XJ out of him. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm bad about that.
So then do we follow Josh's advice and just LS it and call it a day?
Most likely.
No,
yeah.
then he'll
Yeah.
end up like Nick LeBlanc, where he puts that junkyard motor in, thinking it's fine, and then it blows up, and now he's out. How much?
Hey,
money
there's
and
nothing
stuff
wrong with
he's gonna
junkyard
build.
motors. Take it easy.
Hey, we all have
Till it
growing
blows
pains.
up, and you got to take it out again. Hate doing that.
I mean, but I'm on 4-liter number 4, so
Yeah,
You
but
know,
4 liters
how
are
much
easy
worse can it
swaps.
be?
Like
you drain the oil out and then go wheeling?
No, I buy 250,000-mile motors that have probably sat for 10 years. Then I fill them with oil and go run them on rev limiter for till they break.
I see nothing wrong with that equation except for the end. It doesn't make sense to me.
Um, Cody and Richie, especially because I've been there for watching me swap them, can attest that that's what happens, and the failures are generally spectacular.
Are you using the problem is you're using 99 to O2s. You got to use before that. You got to use like a 94. That's Jesus made that motor.
I think the last one was in '96, wasn't it? And it still blew up.
No, you didn't blow up a
yeah.
96. You
Yeah.
stop that.
No, that one was the worst. That one split the crank, took out the cam, and what else was there? Number 5 was sitting in the pan, and
Of a 96, someone lied to you. No, that was an 06. No, somebody lied. A 96 didn't do that.
No, I
Mine
pulled
was
that
a
motor.
96, and I think my 4.0 probably went through, I don't know, the most hell that I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's
And I
no way.
scrapped it 2 weeks ago. It was still running. I don't know. I felt bad throwing it away.
Cam ran through like 30 bottles of nitrous through his, and he sold it running.
Every day. It's in Gregory Stein's.
Yeah, it's still
rig.
running. Yeah,
It's in another
Yeah.
Cherokee buggy.
See,
It's like
now
a Cam's 4-liter.
I have an '01 motor. Mine's knocking like a Jehovah's Witness, and it's still going 2 years later.
Yeah, it's supposed to. When I first got into like Jeep, even before I worked at the dealership, when I was a cook, I used to be a cook for 10 years. And when I first got into Jeeping, like wrenching on stuff, me and my friend Mike would buy 2000 to whatever 02 Cherokees, and all of them would have broken wrist pins in the piston. The ears would break off the bottom of the piston, and the fucking connecting rod was just in the cylinder having a good time. Every one of them. And then we would just buy a 97 or a 93, I think, 93 to 97. We would just buy those because they were all rotted out, swap the motor and make $3 or $4 grand profit on it. It was great. And it took one day. So yeah, 98 and a half to 02 is, you just paint the side of your block white because it's going to be a painting eventually.
Yeah. You ain't wrong about that. No, I just think it's from the motors that I bought have just been sitting for so long, or I never take them apart and like tear them down. I just slap them in and go. And
I think
oh, sorry.
I think something that helps the older motors stay together is if you get the newer motors have a cradle that connects like the crank caps girdle. If you get one of those and put it on an older motor, like kind of like bomb proofs any movement going.
I did not know that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
No, that's
what I
fucking
used to
cool.
shove into the crank.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like the design of the block was a little weaker and it had more deflection in the later years than the earlier years, so they put that in there to like get it within spec. And if you put it on the older ones, it kind of just really stops anything from moving around down there, and it helps protect your your crank for when your poorly designed track bar goes through your oil pan. We've all done.
You guys probably have no idea how many times I've done it.
Oh my god! It used to be a regular thing. It would like dent in a certain way where if I whacked the side of the dent would pop, and my motor would stop knocking. Remember the morning of Sam Sleigh Ride? You met me in that parking lot, and my motor was going whack 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 whack. It was because I jumped it the night before.
I do remember that.
I think the first time I ever saw that was Colin Bates over at Harris Mountain launched his shit, and then all of a sudden it just started knocking. And this is when I was still new into wheeling. And I was like, "What the fuck's going on with it?" And it was the same thing. He blew the track bar right into the oil pan. It was just smack at the bottom of the oil pan.
Yeah,
It's
it's
too funny.
fine.
He fixed it the same
I
way.
think I have the
popped
best.
the dent.
I think I've got the best track bar oil pan collision story. We did it was a 125-mile long race at it was a Renegades on the Ridge race, and on lap 3 I hit the big jump and hit it too fast, and the track bar hit the oil pan, and the motor started making noise. So lap 3 was roughly 35 miles, so I had 90 miles to go, and I'm like, well,
Oh man.
I'm not stopping for this. So here we go. So every lap, I would re-whack the engine with the track bar, probably twice, because there was two. The jump I would hit, and then there was a big hole like on this straightaway or whatever. And I don't know, I hit it a few times, and it made really bad noises. But I ran 90 miles on the rev limiter most of the time, with the engine overheating most of the time, and finished the race.
And it just kept banging the dent back out of the oil pan.
Yeah. Once I finally took it apart, the girdle was broken from whacking the connecting rod, and the connecting rod had like, well, you could measure it with a tape measure how much was missing off of it compared to the one next to it. And all I did was I took the girdle out, I cut the broken piece off, I flipped it around, put the girdle back up to the front, so it was missing the rear section, and
Onward.
on she went. I used to do that quite a bit until I realized that the motor mount bushings were blown right out of it. So I would jump it, the bump stops would hit, and everything would stop, and then the engine would continue to go down, and that always caused a car accident under there.
So I've yet to actually see a Cherokee fly. Do they fly pretty even, or does it matter based off throttle or anything?
I mean, there's a lot of factors there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who made
like,
the jump?
Yeah.
well, because like I've jumped razors and shit, and they always nosedive every fucking time I've ever jumped a razor or anything of that. So I'm just thinking in the sense of that.
That's all suspension. That's all on how the suspension is set up. They like donkey kick because there's a lot of preload in the rear. You have to slow the preload down so when you come off the jump, the rear doesn't unload so fast.
Okay.
It's just kind of how they set them up from the factory. But I mean, jumping any kind of truck or car or Jeep or anything like that there's a lot of factors. But I've kind of molded my Jeep around trying to make it fly. So
It flies pretty good. It lands pretty good too.
it does. It does. I've flown it a few times and I regretted flying it, but
In the early days.
yeah,
Now it's fine. Everything's fine.
hit plenty of jumps that were a lot of fun.
So now, is there any specific racetrack that you love, and then is there any that you hate?
Racing at Rouge Creek sucks. You're literally running over basketballs and volleyballs and hitting huge mud holes and stuff like that.
Coal mud. Not even just mud.
It's
Coal mud.
rough.
Yeah, it's
You're
nasty shit.
constantly running over. I mean, you guys have all been to Roush. You're on green and blues, and you're going as fast as you can. So it's brutal. It's definitely very rough.
It was fun as shit.
It's fun. It's
But-
always fun in the end, but you're going over stuff, and you're like, oh my god, my tits are hitting my face. But I really like famous Reading in Pennsylvania. It's really fast. It's really wide open. It's just a nice place. I've raced there twice. That was what we did last year, the dark water race, and then like whatever 2 or 3 years ago we did the long one. It was Renegades on the Ridge, which was 125 miles long.
Wow, sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's more exciting than following a bunch of Jeeps through the woods and getting stuck every 20 feet or whatever,
Yeah, it's more of a social event at that point. You might as well just go out for coffee and save the money and gas.
Yeah, for sure, sometimes.
Sometimes, for sure.
It's always good trying really hard stuff and, doing trail riding and stuff, but I grew up going fast or trying to go as fast as I can on dirt bikes and quads and snowmobiles and power wheels and all that stuff. So I don't know, driving my Jeep as fast as I can is just kind of second nature.
So, well, what keeps you running the Jeep then instead of transitioning over to a full race rig then? Because it seems like your mindset, your drive to keep going is there, but then the rig's holding you back. What's stopping
He's waiting for a raise.
There's there's two answers to that question. I will admit it. It's my wife and my wallet. Nah, Sarah loves the Jeep, and there's been many times where I'm like, I'm cutting the whole roof right off of this thing and making it not look like a Jeep anymore. And she always pulls the Sawzall out of my hand. So you gotta keep it like a Cherokee. And I don't know, at this point I've had the thing for 12 years or so, and I've raced it a bunch and wheeled it a lot. And I don't know, to get rid of it would be kind of like losing a little part of me, I guess. I do want a chassis, or I do want to build one, but time and money and life, and there's a lot of factors that go into that.
It is always going to be his trail Jeep, I think, because of Sarah.
Yeah,
she's got a line in the sand, and she's not going to cross it.
At worst case, it will be rotting in the front yard with a bunch of flowers in it.
He'll be in a chassis eventually. I think it'll be interesting to see how the next 2 years go with John in the Miller chassis and racing, and us as I guess quote unquote a team. I think you'll see, if that starts going really well, you'll see Josh in a chassis sooner than later.
Yeah.
It's a whole life trying to race like that. There's more things involved than just the parts.
Yeah.
It's understandable.
I-
So
I listened to sorry to cut you off, Cody.
No,
I
you're
listened
good. Oh, yeah, you're
to 23 or 24 or whatever podcast you guys were talking about the whole 2020 KOH, and I thought it was hilarious, the whole running for parts, and you ended up grabbing the tools for a Dana 30 axle shaft instead of the 60 or the 44 or whatever was in it.
Yeah, man. Well, that's kind of like
that's half that's stuff you don't even see, right? Is the how many parts do you need to have? How many buckets of things tools and parts and everything else you need to support that thing, and the relay could be what goes, and you don't have a relay because who the fuck thinks they? I mean, obviously you should have one,
Dude,
but it's just stupid shit that goes.
That trip was so eye-opening to me in so many different ways.
It was super fun to listen to. That was
yeah,
my
man.
favorite one.
It was.
I listened to a bunch today.
It goes to show you how sick people are that actually race.
Yeah.
Like John, my image as a mechanic, as a business owner, as a dad that has no spare time. If I'm going to California, right, and I've been going to California racing, I love John.
Yeah, that was John's.
But I'm gonna be knocking him right now. But and I didn't know John that well or anything. I just knew he'd been racing King of the Hammers. He didn't have a lot of help that year, and I was like, well, yeah, okay, I can take a Jeep apart with one hand tied behind my back, put it right together. Great, I'll be a great addition. I'll bring out my cameras. I'll take videos. It'd be so fun. And then we get there and yeah, that's not the case. Race car drivers are fucking sick in the head, dude. He's just no, man, I just want to race. You're looking at the Jeep and there's so many things I have a problem with as a mechanic, wiring, things like that. And he just shrugged it off. He's like, hey, man, it works. We're going racing. Race car drivers are sick, man, from any level. But yeah, I thought I was just going there for a dream come true vacation trip. Oh my God, I get to help my buddies on a little bit, go to KOH finally, bring my cameras.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, no, man, his axle shaft broke, and I'm looking for a 36 mil socket and needle nose pliers. No, man. No, it's got a fucking 44 of fucking spindle bearings and RCVs in it, dummy. Dude, I had no clue. I'm just oh, this is the race program. I'm here. Something breaks. Someone will call me. No, bitch. No. Now I ain't going back out there unless I get a month alone with that thing. But yeah, that was a crazy time, and it's gonna change because that Miller chassis ain't going together like that. It's gonna be a work of art.
Yeah,
Everything
until we get to the lake bed and we have to tear the whole thing apart.
Well, that's how it goes, right?
That year we got to the lake bed, and on the way there, John was in the back of the toter home while we were driving down the highway, taking the valve cover off because he's like, I think there's something wrong with the motor. And I'm like, John, we're in like Oklahoma. And you think there's something wrong with the motor? Come on. We've got to go race 125 miles through the gnarliest stuff out there. And you think the motor's got a problem? Well, luckily, we had a spare one in my trailer. Because it went in. That's for sure.
Yeah. So
That was a very interesting 2 weeks of my life. That's for sure.
yeah, the next time we go out there will be very different.
Yeah.
Very different. And then that was kind of like that's what sparked my like, all right, well, we got somebody willing to like do the race program. He needs more people. He needs people like me that like can work on things and help him and just be a helping hand and be reliable. And, you know, Josh as a co-driver who's, you know, Josh, he brings a ton of things to the table for that. Like he's going to have a serious race car. He's going to need people like that. And that's kind of what got us talking about, like, you know, having a real, you know, race program team eventually. And, you know, hopefully Falcon gets their life together and we do that. Well, we're going to do it with or without them. But yeah, hopefully it's something formal eventually. Right now it's Hack Shack Racing and Greenleaf Motorsports. Sitting in a tree.
So how did you come up with the name Built for the East? I know it sounds pretty straightforward, but
so back to my crazy business rant earlier. That was back when, you know, when I decided to go from side work to I'm quitting my job. You know, I had to get like a tax ID number and stuff and like, you know, do things like that and like start an Instagram. You know, it's the late 2020s. You got to have an Instagram, right?
yeah.
So I had to come up with a name, and with the vehicles I had in mind, again, like off-road fleet vehicles in the Northeast. I'm like, oh, built for the East. Oh, that's me, man. That's what I need. And I typed it into Instagram. I'm like, that's too long. Well, Built East it is. And now 90% of the people are like, oh yeah, Built East, like professionals, like vendors I'm speaking to on the phone. I'm like, no man, it's Built for the East LLC. Like you have my info. It says it on my credit card, man. But yeah, Built East is good enough. But that's where the Built for the East, I just kind of thought of, you know, all of our vehicles are very different than vehicles out in the desert. And, you know, have any of you guys been out west at all?
Nope.
No,
Not
I
the
have.
wheel.
Luke has.
Yeah,
Dude,
I spent
it-
time in El Paso, but not.
But as far as like the off-road world goes, like people, dude, when we were at KOH,
Oh my god.
I'm a pinball machine. I'm sorry, but
Oh, you're great.
I
Keep
was
going.
I was borrowing Josh's Jeep to go to the cell phone bush. I'm big on
the
dad.
cell phone
dad.
push.
Yeah. I'm big on dad life.
Tell
So
that story.
I had a 2-year-old at home, and I wanted to touch base with him a lot and whatever. So I had to call him. But
Yep.
about what'd you say? It's 2-3 miles from Hammertown, maybe 2.
From where we were, it was
Yeah.
probably 2 miles.
From the pits, it's like 2 miles out in the desert. No service anywhere. Nothing. You get to this bush within like 100 feet of it, and all of a sudden your phone goes up to like 3 bars. And anyways, point being, I'm driving Josh's Jeep by myself. And the people from the West Coast, dude, they look at his Jeep like you got a van full of kids and they're screaming and you're driving down the road like saying, don't look at me, don't look at me. It looks like he killed a bunch of people with his vehicle in accidents, and like there's rust, like the sheet metal is just totally fucked from top to bottom. The roof has fucking dents in it. Every A, B, C, and D pillar is just totally wrinkled into a raisin. And people from the West Coast and the desert are like, they got like full-bodied vehicles with roll cages with no paint on them. And they're looking at Josh as like, what the fuck? Someone actually said, what happened to that? Someone at like the Mickey, whoever was across from us, like Mickey Thompson or something, was
Yeah.
someone over there. Like, what happened to that thing? I'm like, what are you talking about, man?
You gotta remember it was my rig, and then Spider Pig, Chris Bradley's old rig, parked like right in front of our spot.
And John's. I mean, John's pretty
Yeah.
fucked up too.
John's race
You know?
is pretty raisined up.
So it's just, you know, there's off-roading here is very different than anywhere else. And that was kind of what I was thinking when I came up with that name, to answer your question in a short 8-minute rant.
Oh, hey, that was exactly what I was looking for, so that's perfect. So I have this question that I always ask almost every episode, and I'd love to hear your guys' take on it. What is the worst tire, and what is your favorite tire?
We'll let Josh go first.
Not
Oh
DOT
boy.
though. Like cannot or not, I mean it has to be a DOT.
Not
Cannot be-
DOT?
Pardon
Oh,
me.
shit, that's easy.
No. Because
We're
everybody's gonna be
talking
like,
stickies now.
no stickies. No
Yeah, he
stickies.
messed that
Oh,
up.
no.
Oh,
Sorry.
no
DOTs.
stickies?
Yeah, no
No,
stickies.
that's
Sorry.
boring.
Yeah, but every
I don't
sticky's
know.
the
There's a
same
bunch of good
practically.
ones. You're,
No way.
I meant that.
Dude, you're
facetiously.
crazy.
We already
I
talked with
meant-
Bob about that. Yeah,
I
there's...
meant it facetiously.
Yeah, okay.
Dude, there's two different stickies. That's it, and they're for
Yep.
two different uses.
What?
That's it. There's
Red
traps and red
labels.
labels. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and both of them have different jobs, and they're the best at it. That's the end of the conversation. I don't want to hear anything else.
The
To this
reason
day,
I
my favorite tire is the KRTB. Brand new ones, though. They got to be brand new.
okay.
Otherwise, they're junk.
Yeah, the reason why I go with non sticky tires is just there's more of a like variance between the tires, so like you can actually kind of talk about it. Where like stickies, there's a big difference.
Well, they
But
all
they all have the
DOTs,
same-
It's very apparent when they suck more than the other pair because they don't have that
Yeah.
sticky compound, right?
I think it's kind of like I think it's on like the same comparison level, though. You know, like stickies all do what they do, and
Mhm.
you know, there are very large differences. You know, some people are like, well, you got stickies, it doesn't matter. But man, I've run KRTBs, KR2s, Treps, black labels, red labels.
Blue labels.
I've had blue labels. I've had SXs, not stickies, but regular ones. You know, and you can tell, you know, like night and day.
There's
It's
even
different.
there's even different parts of the trail you can be on and see that, like someone with a red label and someone with a sticky SX, like even on the same trail, like at Field and Forest, where there's different parts of trails. You know, one person might do really well on a certain part of that trail because of their tire, and then the other one will do well in a different section. You know.
Well, a lot of times people are like, "Oh, it's a tire. You got traps. The thing suck." But like, rigs take, you know, the way that the rig is set up and built, and driver and all that comes into play. But you know, when you take the same vehicle and you change different tires, you know, and you can, you know, and I've even seen a difference between old stickies of one type. Like I ran two different sets of KR2s at one point, and I had an older set originally, and those like were not that good at all. I was like, what is going on with these things? And then I thought that they were not stickies. I was kind of unsure, and then I got rid of them, and then I borrowed a set from a friend that were like pretty fresh. They didn't have a lot of runtime on them, but they were worn, and they were like worn well in the first few times that they were used. And I was like, what the hell? These things are, you know, it was a totally different experience. You know, so you know, age on a sticky plays a big part in it too.
Have you guys talked to Ricky yet from Barrett Fabrication, or
We have
I
not.
should say it
No, we have
off road? I
not.
guess
Tried to set something up, but he's always been busy.
he's a busy man. But if you ever do talk to him, ask him about that, because him and Eugene swapped their tires one day at Field and Forest. Was it Eugene?
Yeah,
So he put the BFGs.
Rob Lacoste and Eugene swapped
Oh, that's what it was.
X's and reds, the 42s.
Yeah. So talk to Rob or Eugene. You ain't getting either of them on here. Never mind. Sorry, rednecks. Anyways, so for a DOT tire, you're asking the wrong guy. I do this. I literally answer this question like 3 times a week. That depends what you're trying to do. Are you talking about like on my
Wheeling.
vehicle
For wheeling,
Okay.
like rock crawling specifically.
for wheeling? So I would say
Nitto and
off
Falcon.
road, Nitto is going to be number 1 for sure.
You're gonna get
Oh,
lucky.
yeah.
Just there's really no argument. Anyways, and then Falcon, I would say number 2. Not durability wise, I think the design of the Nitto, especially off road, is way more aggressive. And at this point, I would say it's just more proven. To be honest with you, just Falcon doesn't have the portfolio that Nitto does of throwing DOT tires at mountains at 100 miles an hour and not failing.
Hmm.
They're working there. We're working on it. We're putting our team together here.
Actually, yeah.
We're going to be a good test group, but you can't. If you're talking about a DOT tire off road, I mean, there's literally nothing can hold a candle to a Nitto, right? I mean,
Trying to think. A lot of people rant and rave about the Maxxis razors.
I'm gonna try them. I
Yeah.
have a set that I've yet to use, but we'll see. I only
Yeah,
have
I've heard of.
Man,
I only have those Treps that you have now to compare them to, which isn't a really great comparison because it's probably a pretty similar compound, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I know
I'm
Mike
a
Craig
massive
raved about those
fan.
things, so
yeah. Mike is he's a big lover, I guess you could say. He's had a few sets,
mhm.
but I mean they do seem to do pretty well. So I mean there is that. He's done a bunch of good stuff on them.
yeah. I think that my Trep radials would probably be my favorite tire off-road, but the Nittos, they're just fucking bomb-proof. Like, my Jeep landed basically on the tire enough to bend the rim, and there's just a small chunk missing from the sidewall. It, like, knocked the tire clean off, bent the rim, ripped out suspension components. It was a bad day, but the tire was fine. Took air.
I'm hoping to eventually have some stories like that with Josh and us with Falcons, but as of right now, I don't have stories like that, so that's why Nitto wins in that department. But if you're talking about hopping up on the road after off-roading, I mean, then you start getting into 2-3 other tires, you know? It's totally different.
And
I
the
still
worst,
like my Nittos on the road. They're not bad at all. When you consider you're talking about a 40, you know, throw 25 psi in them and they'll do 85 down the highway with 2 fingers on the steering wheel.
Yep, they sure will, even on beadlocks.
in the worst tire, would you say?
Patagonia.
For off-roading, yeah, anything with a thin sidewall. You got a pen and a paper? Dunlop makes one. I've seen that popped a few times. Yeah, the Patagonias, the Turos, the Nexon or Nixon, N-E-X-E-N. Yeah, those sidewalls suck. Anything with a thin sidewall, really. If you're talking about traction, I don't know. They all suck except for the Nitto and the Trep, I guess. I don't know. It's a DOT, a flat DOT mud terrain in the woods. They're all going to be pretty similar, to be honest with you. You know, so be an adult and buy beadlocks.
All right. Well, how about worst sticky? Worst sticky.
The worst sticky would be.
It gets into opinion and driving style, like Josh mentioned.
I don't think so. I've seen the creepy crawlers suck pretty bad. When's the last time you saw a creepy crawler on the trail?
Those aren't generally stickies though.
They had them though.
There are limited runs of the creepy stickies, but like I had a set of creepies way back in the day, and they were so-so.
Yeah, I mean, if they were good, they'd be around.
Yeah.
There's not. I mean, stickies are pretty awesome.
Harry ran them for a while, but they were just regular.
Yeah.
Just regular creepies. He had 37s. I had 37s. You know, they did their job, but they're nothing. I had a set of 38-inch SXs beforehand, and I think the SXs were better. But you know, whatever. I would just like to try different tires.
It sounds like we're too optimistic. We just keep bringing up good tires. The new, the Mickey Thompson, was it the Trail Boss?
The Baja,
Baja?
not the Pro.
I've heard some good things about that one being a sticky.
Are you talking about the one that looks like an SX and a bogger got left alone?
No. I'm talking about the one that's more of like a Cooper STT tread pattern.
Yeah. I
Mickey
want to
Thompson?
try a set of those in a sticky.
Yeah, last time we checked, they were like $4.90 a piece, which is not bad.
They were definitely reasonable.
Yeah, and they were actually in stock at the time when we looked, or there was like 3 of them in stock, which there was no other ones.
Damn.
But yeah, man, I don't know. Sure, I don't know. Stickies are awesome. Why are you being so negative? Asking about which the worst one is.
Well, hands down, I think the worst one is the Milestar.
The Milestar is pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So
it's very bad.
It's like a water balloon with thick rubber on top. It's a water balloon with a mullet.
Yeah.
Alrighty, last question before we start wrapping this up. Give me a random weird fact that you know off the top of your head. And usually we go for raccoon fact, but I know you like your conspiracy theories every once in a while. So give me just a random fact.
Oh, you can't put me on the spot like that.
Oh, you got this. Come on, just
Gotta
pull
guide
from
me
it.
a little. Gotta guide me.
Oh,
Josh, you
guided.
go first.
Me? I got nothing to say. Random weird fact.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh my god.
yeah, I got too many, man.
Adam
Alright, I'll
random
start-
weird facts.
I'll start this one. Do you know where
Oh.
the raise a toast came from? Ancient Romans, they used to drop a piece of toast into their wine for good health. So they used to say raise a toast. Kind of fucking weird.
Had no idea.
That's interesting. I was listening to a scientist talk about the one of the Aztec mummies that they found, or not Aztec, the Mayan mummy? No, Aztec. Which one's the one they actually found? Aztecs, I believe.
Yeah.
Anyways, they found cocaine in its hair, and but they didn't find it in its DNA, so it just means that whoever was embalming it was doing blow. Like chewing on a cocoa leaf or something, and like just like spit up chewed cocoa leaves, or I don't know. But they said it was tested positive for actual cocaine, not just cocoa leaves. So it was like some form of ancient processed cocaine. So, but I mean, hey, if I was wrapping up bodies, I'd be a little banged up too. But yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
That's
That was
random
perfect.
cocaine fact for you there.
That was absolutely perfect. And I just wanted to say thank you, both of you guys, for coming on. You've been absolutely fucking fantastic. Where can people find you on social media?
Gosh.
Oh, all over, I guess. Just Josh Greenleaf on Facebook, or you can check out the Greenleaf Motorsport page on Instagram. It's pretty active. You can thank my wife for that.
And me.
Yeah, you guys.
I tag it and everything. He does here. I try to.
I'm terrible at social media.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just Bill East everywhere. BillEast.com, Bill East on Facebook, Bill East on Instagram. Don't go listen to my podcast because it's been, I think, a year since I've made one. So
Dude,
give me
you
some
gotta-
time.
You got to get back into it. Your podcasts are fucking phenomenal. They are
I
absolutely incredible.
know. Well, listen, dude, and I gotta get
I
to
was
you guys.
skeptical. It was like, some of those 20-minute ones, I was like, uh-oh, like, what is going on here?
Oh yeah,
And then,
those
but
are boring. I do those just to do them because it's fun, but it's like it's so much better.
No, but
when
even
it's with
those,
people.
like, I don't know, I just threw them on, and like I said, I was listening to a bunch of them all day, and they kept me entertained.
They're good to do once in a while, but after a while, it's like, yeah, this is what we're doing in the shop.
Yeah.
We're going wheeling, and we went wheeling, and yeah, all right, talk to you next time.
It's cool insight, honestly. Like,
Yeah, it is cool to know what's going on here besides just pictures. And that's something unfortunately, it falls behind, when it comes to like day-to-day stuff, building things, answering the phone, customers, emails, all that stuff. Well, podcasts are fun, and those get pushed right to the back. And unfortunately, we're so busy that, like I said, it's been like 2 a year for the past 2 years. So I want to get back into it, but I got to give it to you guys. Dude, it takes dedication, man. And to do it regularly, that's as adults, that's extremely hard to do. And to coordinate, and I give it to you guys. It takes a lot of dedication. I mean, it seems like a lot of fun to people, and like it's a party, but it's a lot of work. And then get them and then get them out, and just being consistent. It's really hard, and you got to be dedicated to it. And I'm dedicated to my business. Unfortunately, not my podcast. I would like to do it more, but yeah, I just wanted to say that it's that's the reason you don't see more of my podcast, because it takes dedication. I'm stoked you guys are doing it.
Well, we appreciate it.
Blast.
Oh, has it?
Uh-huh.
No, go fuck yourself, Cody. No, it's been a blast doing it though, and it's really fun to talk with people. Especially like we try and cover a really wide scope, so it's cool to talk with like people like yourselves that are business owners or people that are building some of the coolest buggies, or like Sam with his full-size Jeep stuff. It's just weird. All right, let's figure this one out here. Make sure
Lord,
to
thank you for this food.
make sure to have a clue as to what you're buying before you go and call up the off-road shop saying that you want it. And WD-40 does wonders for Heims.